Cindy McCain is with us now from Phoenix. Mrs. McCain, good morning to you. I know it's early there. So let's pick it up right there. I mean, you're a lifelong Republican. You've made it clear you still are. And here you are endorsing Joe Biden. You're a prominent voice in a state that could be decisive. What led you to this decision?
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me. What led me to this decision was, like so many other people in the country, I've been watching what's going on, and I'm deeply concerned. And Joe Biden represents to me the kinds of values and integrity and courage that we want in a president, and someone who is I think, would have my back as a citizen and someone who lives in a neighborhood and has a family and all the other things that people do. I want to feel like my president cares about me and cares about this country. And Joe Biden does. I've known Joe for over 40 years, and I know the kind of man that he is. And I'm just so deeply honored to be a part of this, and I look forward to talking to people about who he is and what he stands for and the kind of courage he has exemplified during the years.
You took part in that video at the Democratic Convention. You stopped short of endorsing. Mm-hmm. Since then, events have happened. There was an article in The Atlantic that asserted that the president had made disparaging remarks about military members, people who serve. You're a military mom. Was that the last straw?
Pretty much. It's a culmination of things, but I do believe that our men and women that serve in the military are not losers, and certainly the men and women who gave the ultimate sacrifice are not losers. I think that respect for the men and women who serve us and serve this nation and protect us, it's important that we respect and care for them. So I guess that's, as you can see the Blue Star flag behind me, we obviously are a very military family. And so I know Joe Biden will not only, he understands the military, but he cares about them. And I do believe that he'll make a wonderful president with regards to not only the military, but in every other aspect. And most importantly, and the thing that touches me a great deal, is that Joe has great empathy for people in this country, people that are struggling, people that are suffering, that certainly not just through the COVID crisis, but all along the way. He works across the aisle, and he cares about who he is, what he represents, I should say.
Mrs. McCain, we just heard the Trump campaign saying, look, you didn't support us in 2016. There is a long history of bad blood here. What do you say to those who might just dismiss this as a continued clash of personalities, or maybe even a bit of revenge on your part?
That's their opinion. I'm here because I believe in what's right for this country. I believe that what we need to do is stand up, and we should show a little bit of courage and step across the line and vote for Joe Biden. I'm hoping that I can encourage suburban women to take another look and take women that are particularly on the fence and, are unhappy with what's going on right now, but also are not sure they want to cross the line and vote for Joe. I hope they'll take a look at what I believe, and we'll move forward and come with me and join the Team Biden and vote for Biden.
I have to ask you, Mrs. McCain, are you disappointed in fellow Republicans? I keep thinking of Lindsey Graham. He and your husband were inseparable for a period of time there, and he has certainly become an ardent Trump and vocal Trump supporter. Are you disappointed about that and other establishment Republicans?
No, Lindsey is an old and very dear friend, and I will always love him. And he's like a member of my family. The Republicans that believe and are doing what they're doing, it's certainly their prerogative to do so. I just believe it. I think things should be different. So we just have a difference of opinion, and it's not a bad thing in this country, and it should be respected. But in my opinion, I believe that Joe Biden is the better man and will make the better president.
Well, anyone who knows you, Mrs. McCain, knows that you are your own person and always have been. But I can't help but wonder, what do you think your husband, the Maverick, would have thought about this?
Well, the one thing I do know, and I can say with great belief is that he would have been disappointed in what's going on. He would, you know, as you know, the country knew him almost as well as I did in terms of who he was as a man. And I think John would have been certainly upset about the direction the country's going. And so I hope, you know, if I look up, I hope he's happy with what I'm doing and believes that I've done the right thing. And so that's all I can ask for.
Cindy McCain, it's good to have your thoughts this morning. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.